And I will code what I really want to say to Donald Trump. It's 2 words. It begins with F and it ends with U. Okay, so today is November 18th, and I'm doing today's video. Today's video is based on Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago.
And the reason I'm doing her today is because she's a tyrant. And she's constantly talking bad about Trump, claiming all these false things about him.
What an advisory is, because it doesn't sound like it's the shutdowns or restrictions that we saw last time around that essentially closed businesses. No, I mean, I think I'm mindful of the previous segment I was listening to you. We know a heck of a lot more, both about the virus, but also about the impacts on our economy than we did back in the spring. And so what we're trying to do is use more of a targeted approach, a surgeon's knife, more than kind of a blunt axe. And so what we're asking our residents to do, we're saying, look, here's what the reality is. In the last month, since early October, we've seen test positivity go up 3 times. We're now at 14.5%. We've seen cases start to balloon 3 times the number of cases, 3 times the number of hospitalizations, ICU beds. And really the most startling piece of information that motivated us to issue this advisory and the other components is if we do nothing between now and the end of the year, we're likely to lose 1,000 Chicagoans to death. That's not acceptable, and certainly not acceptable to me or anyone else on our team. And so we're saying to folks, look, we know that you've got COVID fatigue. We know that you are tired of the different restrictions, but we must do this for you, for your family, for your loved ones, and for the entire city of Chicago. So we're doing this advisory. It's 30 days. In addition to telling people that they should stay home except for work or school or going to a medical appointment, something like that, something absolutely essential.
Not to let people in your home. Where we're seeing a lot of our case growth is in these private settings. People let their guards down in homes. They're going to weddings and funerals, and they're also still having parties, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the case growth. Now, don't get me wrong, we're seeing it really across the board everywhere, but these private settings is really the toughest thing to regulate.
And it's not so much that, it's more on the fact that people are not aware of who she really is. Meaning that she is down for the New World Order. She's down for the city to burn down.
Now, some are planning protest here. And as the superintendent said yesterday, under his leadership, the department has been hard at work developing authentic relationships to restore trust with our communities. And the superintendent and his team, as well as myself and my team, we have continued that important engagement, working, of course, with protest organizers, community leaders, faith leaders, and more to make sure that we keep the channels of communication flowing, keep folks safe, and give space to those who want to peacefully exercise their First Amendment rights.
And demonstrate their righteous anger.
Let me remind all of us, this is Chicago, and we've been through difficult times before. We haven't forgotten the days following the release of the video showing the murder of Laquan McDonald, and following the deaths of too many other names, both before that time and after, that we can now recite as a painful mantra. Chicago is known for its legacy of spearheading bold yet peaceful protest movements. We must also have all necessary plans in place to keep things safe, to protect people, property, and lives, and above all, to remind people that we are protesting amid a viral outbreak. Now, what I'm next going to say, I recognize the irony of. But folks, please march, exercise your rights, but wear face coverings. Bring hand sanitizers. Ensure distance between one another, even as you're marching. If you feel sick, please stay home. And remember that you could also be COVID positive and be asymptomatic. Now, it's impossible for me as a black woman who has been the target of blatant racism over the course of my life not to take the killing of George Floyd personally. Watching that poor man beg for his life and for the ability to breathe, and then watching the life leave him there on the streets, I feel angry, I feel sickened, and a range of other emotions all at once. Being black in America should not be a death sentence. We should not fear for the lives of our loved ones, and mothers shouldn't fear when their young men and women go out into the world that they're going to get that fateful call. And let me say one other thing. Donald Trump's comment last night was profoundly dangerous. And we must stand in firm solidarity and say this is totally unacceptable, no matter who is the speaker. And folks, we see the game he's playing because it's so transparent and he's not very good at it. He wants to show failures on the part of Democratic local leaders to throw red meat to his base. His goal is to polarize, to destabilize local government, and inflame racist urges. And we can absolutely not let him prevail. And I will code what I really want to say to Donald Trump. It's 2 words. It begins with F, and it ends.
But yet, she protects herself, and she doesn't care about any of us.
I think it is like Fort Lori, because it's like very random times she like blocks off the street too. And even when there aren't protests, she'll block it off.
Rachel Volgrich and Emma Frost live a few doors down from Mayor Lori Lightfoot. They are her neighbors, but they're also her protesters.
And we have also been protesting, so, it's kind of awkward having to be in the protest, going out, we're like trying to, support everyone, and then coming back in here, 50 cops.
Awkward and frustrating, they say.
She blocks us off so she can feel safe, even though it's hurting all of her neighbors.
This stretch of Wrightwood between Kimball and St. Louis and Logan Square has been barricaded and blocked by police to keep out protesters and keep the mayor's home safe.
And I make no apologies whatsoever for that. We are living in a very different time, and I've seen the threats that have come in, and I have an obligation to keep my home, my wife, my 12-year-old, and my neighbors safe.
Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown says residential protesting is illegal in Chicago and in Illinois.
No, protesting in neighborhoods is not legal. What we try to do is err on the side of First Amendment rights. And so we give a little bit of wiggle room there. We compromise, except for the embedded violence we've seen.
But Ed Yonka of the ACLU of Illinois says the tactic is concerning and appears to violate the First Amendment.
Neither state nor local government can write a law which violates the Constitution of the United States. As it's been interpreted by the Supreme Court, as of now, the limitation is on protest at a particular home, not a particular block.
The mayor says she has received threats on a daily basis, and that the situation cannot be compared to protests at former Mayor Rahm Emanuel's home, given the pandemic, which has caused the mayor to make polarizing decisions regarding closures, and the civil unrest, which has turned violent several times in recent months.
This is a different time like no other. This is a different time like no other. And I'm not going to make any excuses for the fact that given the threats that I have personally received, given the threats to my home and my family, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they are protected.
Ironically, I have a friend who is pretty much a whistleblower. He knows people that know people. And the thing is that what we got to start doing is asking Lori Lightfoot, where were you at on November 15th, 2020? And her answer is going to be, I was at Water Tower. If I'm lying, then I'm wrong, and I would admit that I'm wrong. But from the people that I got this information from, they are very credible sources. And as a matter of fact, I heard that people were releasing pictures of the party she had on November 15th at the Water Tower. But they got in trouble for releasing it. Also, the reason why this person would be a whistleblower, if in fact, evidence is shown, and maybe we can question her about it. But he told me, or she told me, or she told me that, in order for them to be there, they had to sign disclosures. So, there you go. That's the main reason why that person is pretty much going to be a whistleblower. Kind of like when Adam Schiff wanted to claim that there was a whistleblower. Well, I don't have an affidavit because this is not court, but we should start asking Lori Lightfoot, where was she at on November 15th, 2020, if she was at the Water Tower having a party with over 100, it was over 100 people, but...
We can't go to church. We can't, have funerals. People are dying and their families cannot hang out. They're trying to talk about Thanksgiving or any particular thing.
And they want to put tyrannical laws on us, but not even laws. They're called mandates and statutes and codes. But at the same time, they walk around without masks. They can talk about defunding the police, but yet they need police services at their homes. They illegally celebrate Biden's, quote unquote, elect president celebration.
But says she's excited and relieved by the result of this election. But nationally, there are some leaders who say it's too early to celebrate. This is a great day for our country. Mayor Lori Lightfoot joining Chicagoans in the streets. And I just want to say, for all those people who voted, you made this happen. Saying a Biden-Harris administration will help unite the country. Make no mistake, America is back. We have the opportunity, but also the obligation to reaffirm our role on the global stage and reaffirm our uniquely American values here at home as well as abroad. Some of President Trump's supporters say the celebration is premature.
And have a lot of people there, but we can't even have a house hangout unless we get a fine if somebody says, or somebody sees, or the police comes by saying that, hey, you got more than 5 or 10 people, but she can have a party with hundreds of people.
The protest, she allowed it. There's actually videos of her sort of inciting violence, saying that she could relate to it as a black woman.
At the moment, a lot of our leaders are not being brave. They're allowing the mob to run rampant. Tonight, there is new leaked audio from Chicago that shows exactly what was going on behind the scenes. It's remarkable, and not surprisingly, our chief breaking news correspondent, Trace Gallagher, has it all on tape. Trace? Hi, Tucker. This was a conference call on Sunday, May 31st, to talk about Chicago's response to the widespread looting. On the call were Mayor Lori Lightfoot and all 50 Chicago aldermen and alderwomen, including Alderman Raymond Lopez, one of the mayor's harshest critics. Now, for context, on the day of the conference call, Chicago had 699 arrests, mostly looters. 132 officers were injured. There were 48 shootings, 17 homicides, and Alderman Lopez accused the mayor of being underprepared as the looting spread, saying his ward had become a virtual war zone. Listen.
Half our neighborhoods are already obliterated. It's too late. We have to come up with a better plan, because my fear is once they're done looting and rioting and whatever's going to happen tonight, God help us, what happens when they start going after residents, going into the neighborhoods? Once they start trying to break down people's doors who they think they got something, or, we know that people are here to antagonize and incite, and you've got them all pumped today, they're not going to go to bed at 8 o'clock. They're going to turn their focus in the neighborhoods. I've got gangbangers with AK-47s walking around right now, just waiting to settle some scores. What are we going to do?
And the alderman wasn't exaggerating. In his ward, 2 Walgreens were burned down, along with restaurants, shops, and an entire strip mall. But when Lopez finished speaking, Mayor Lightfoot refused to respond. So Alderman Lopez demanded that she respond. Finally, she did. Watch.
I think you're 100% full of what I think. If you think
no offense, you then.
Hold on.
Who are you to tell me I'm full of?
And if you think we were not ready and we stood by and let the neighborhood go up, there's nothing intelligent that I can say to you.
Well, maybe you should come out and see what's going on.
One of the stupidest things I have ever heard. I understand you want to preen. I understand that you think that you...
Mayor, you need to check your attitude. That's what you need to do.
And she talks about COVID as if, we can't have parties, we can't have this, we can have that, but she can't. Now, you may think I'm crazy, but there is a video of her mentioning legalese. It may not go through, so she's going to use the legalese language to be able to do this, and she would appoint the people that would go in power in order to let this new world order take place.
How you do it, my thoughts are, because it's not written into law, it's just a very dominant culture. I think the only way you can do it is a couple ways. One, I'm thinking about an executive order from day one that says, in more legalese than this is not a thing. We will no longer honor this, because the way that aldermanic prerogative works is there's got to be compliance with the executive branch, because otherwise it doesn't work. So you got to eliminate that compliance, and you make a mandate, and then you do training, particularly in the city. I'll call them licensing departments, whether it's zoning, buildings, housing will be impacted by it, planning certainly, and you
pick the people to run those agencies and the deputies that are pledging allegiance to the new world order and good governance. And then I think you have the inspector general do some spot audits to make sure that there is real compliance.
The thing is that God's people are always going to be informed when things like this become very alarming. So, Lori Lightfoot, where were you at November 15th, 2020? Were you at the water tower? Were you having a party with over hundreds of people? Because I've seen some of the pictures, so I know this person is not lying. And I really hope that people start exposing you and showing who you really are, and how tyrannical you are, and how Trump really was trying to help us, instead of, being ignorant like you and saying that you got 2 words for Trump that starts with F and ends with U. The type of people that we allow to go around insulting people, but as soon as people like Trump say something, it's not political correctness. So anyways, that's the video for today. Thank you, and I shall see you next time. Don't forget to
subscribe and share. Even if you dislike it, you already know, let me know you're alive. Thank you.